One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little delay. One. Want. Yeah, we want. Hello, hello, hello. 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 Can I have everyone's attention, please? Hey, Val. We can ready to start the show. Yes. Can I have everyone's attention, please? Come on in. Come a little closer. Everyone get their seats. We are about to start the world's greatest meetup. It's like Bonner and Bailey Circus. Hey guys, I know that conversation is important over there, but our conversation is more important. So I would like y'all to come and get a chance to come sit down with us. For all those, if this is your first time here, welcome to Crypto Mondays. When I say crypto, you say crypto. Crypto. Welcome to Crypto Mondays, the biggest crypto meetup in New York City. I am your host, Abby Harris. Today is going to be a great day. Yes, it is. We have, damn, you know what? I looked at you and I choked like, no homo. Verbwire. We have Verbwire in the building. For all of those DeFi heads, if you're into DeFi, this is the conversation that you want to hear. We seen Bitcoin went up 25%. It looks like it's been a little bit of debate if we at the bottom, if we're not at the bottom. But we got some guys that's here to talk about all the things, their platform, and everything that's happening within this crypto space. Next week, I want everybody to understand. Kate, raise your hand. She will be pitching next week. We have all-female panel next week. And it's going to be amazing because I like you guys, but I'm tired of the crypto bros. I would like to hang out with some great thinkers, some accomplished women, some people who are making some major milestones in this world. So look forward to next week. But this week, it is about Verbwire. We have James Dixon. Come on stage. Excuse me, James Dix. Give James Dix a round of applause, please.
Either one. Does this one work?
Yeah, you should be loud.
Does this work?
Yeah, it should. Wait, let me turn you up a little bit. Speak.
Even better.
Yes.
All right, beautiful.
Yes.
It's always easier to use two mics as opposed to one.
Yeah. So, did I turn my mic down? I think I turned my mic down. Hello? Yeah. And let's bring up our guest. Come on, fellas, because I've had a long day today, so y'all gotta excuse me. Come on, fellas. Y'all gonna get a chance to introduce yourselves, tell them what y'all doing, what y'all about, and crypto.
All right, beautiful. As Abby said, I'm James Dix. I was at the very first Crypto Mondays back in 2018. I got into crypto as part of Crypto Oracle, which was founded by Lou Kerner, who founded Crypto Mondays. Before that, I was on Wall Street, started at Deutsche Bank as an equity research analyst, and before that, I was actually at the SEC in enforcement. So I can give you that perspective too. But I got into crypto largely because I was interested in new ways of doing incentives, and largely that's what's kept me in it the past 4 or 5 years. And from what I can see that Verbwire's doing, they have some interesting perspectives on what I'm interested in, but I think more generally just in how to do it, how to do Web3 efficiently, especially from a coding perspective. But anyway, so what I want you guys to do is to introduce yourselves, give a little bit of your background, because I think that may prick some ears up, especially given what's been going on over the weekend, and then we get into what got you into crypto and what got you into Verbwire and what's going on in the crypto space now. So
Sure. Hey guys, thanks for coming. My name is Bankole. I'm out in B. I go by Banky. My background is working on Wall Street for 16 years, really in the area of quantitative trading, electronic trading technology, electronic market making of ETF blocks. Most recently, like when I left in 2021, I was at Credit Suisse, the global head of principal trading products in the equities department. I was at Credit Suisse for 10 years, and being the global head of principal trading products, my role really was creating electronic products that helped us, trade, the firm's capital systematically. And I worked on the same trading desk with Justin. We sat together for like 10 years. He was there for like 15 years. He'll tell you more. And what's really interesting is we both have the unique combination of being both business people and both technologists. I'm a computer science major. I'm an engineer. Justin's an engineer too. We're both coders, and we're both again business people. So Justin, why don't go ahead and talk?
Sure. Thanks, Becky. So my name is Justin Mojarski.
Maybe just break. Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right, there we go. I'm Justin Mojarski. I'm the other co-founder of Verbwire. As Benki mentioned, my background's on Wall Street. Spent over 15 years at Credit Suisse as an ETF and Delta One trader. So I traded everything from stocks, commodities, fixed income, FX, and trade all over the world from like London and Hong Kong. But my background's in computer science. I'm a total hardcore data guy, an engineer, and total nerd. So I found a little bit further away. All right. I found crypto a number of cycles ago. Kind of, some people here have, some people haven't, but enough to appreciate the volatility. I would say I was the Trojan horse in traditional finance. I was that guy going around to people and being like, that's all right. I said, Becky, check out this white paper, check out like XYZ coin or whatever, and we should be building this space. And not many people in traditional finance listen to me over the years. Talking like 2015, 16, 17. Most people are skeptical. People are coming around to it now. And it's timely given obviously the news events. I don't want to talk too much about our former firm, but obviously it lays the groundwork for why crypto is important and why we're here. But Becky and I have been talking about starting something forever. Like we're both data guys, but engineers, but also builders. And we saw this space a lot of times. Like when you're trying to build a product, you have to know that something needs to come into existence, right? You need to will it. And we were building the space, and we realized there's a big barrier to entry. And we have a great graphic on our site that shows through like the steps to deploy a smart contract now, if you're a developer coming in, right? And it's over 21 different steps right now. Everything from like downloading MetaMask to loading up cryptocurrency to downloading hard hat and like deploying a smart contract. And like that, we looked at that and we talked to a lot of developers, and so many people said, I want to start in the space. I want to develop. I started in a weekend, but I gave up. Like I'll come back to it. I really want to do this, but it's just too tough. And those of you who've been in this space, like it's not intimidating to download MetaMask because you've done it, right? It's normal, but like I wouldn't tell my mom to download MetaMask, right? I wouldn't tell my dad or like even my brother, right? Because it's too tough. And part of our problem as an industry is we have a long way to go for better tools. And part of what we're building, we call ourselves Plaid for Web3. And the reason for that, if you guys know Plaid came in 2012. Connecting to bank infrastructure is backwards, right? A lot of them are running in like 1990s, like MS-DOS, basically in the back end. Plaid came in and made it super easy to connect to dozens, if not hundreds of banks. And from them, you had this ecosystem explosion of fintechs, right? You had the Chimes of the world, the Robinhoods, the Revoluts, they're all using Plaid. We look at ourselves the same way. Right now, building in Web3 is too tough, right? You have to take all these steps to deploy, you have to learn Solidity, you have to download Hard Hat. There's a big barrier to entry. We come in, Verbwire is a super easy platform for you to deploy any smart contract. You can mint an NFT, push to IPFS, pull data with a couple lines of code in the language you want to build. So it could be, you don't have to learn Solidity. You can do it in Python, you can do it in Java, C#, whatever you're comfortable with. And we're taking this gap right now, right? The Electric Capital stats are there's 18 to 20,000 Web3 developers. That's small in comparison to Web2, right? There's 30 plus million unique App Store developers in Apple. 80 plus million GitHub profiles, right? So like that.
Any sense of like how many AI developers there are?
Right. I don't know how many, but probably tens of thousands at this point.
So you would think more than Web3?
I think at this point, given what's happened recently, probably.
Okay. So it's a number that's probably quadrupled in the last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everyone chases what's hot. But the thing is, it's not that people don't want to build in space. It's just that it's difficult. And I think what we've seen, we love crypto, right? We're invested in it. We obviously love it very deeply. And we, first and foremost, just want to bring more people into the space, right? 18 to 20,000 developers is not enough to build the future, right? We look at this future as decentralized, right? Ownership of your assets. And to build that next bull cycle, right? You need 1 million plus developers in the space building the next cool thing. And what we're trying to do is just decrease that barrier to entry, make it easy for people.
Okay. Why do you say 1 million? Just because it's a round number, or
Well,
have you kind of broken
1 million plus? Look, I would love to bring 1 billion plus people into the space. And I think
but you're talking about developers in particular,
Developers,
right?
right.
Who can
Right,
actually...
and those have a multiplier effect, right? So if you have 1 million developers, each building apps, each of those brings in hundreds, if not thousands of people. That's how you bring 1 billion, 2 billion, 5 billion people into the space, right? You need,
Right.
And we were talking about, I was talking about people earlier about this, right? The GUIs in this space are terrible now, right? That needs to change, right? Just the platforms need to change. And to do that, you need those smart Web 2 guys coming in who know the interface, they know the GUIs, they know the user interfaces. And we will improve as an industry the more people you bring in.
Yeah. I mean, you're interesting because you have, obviously strong backgrounds in both finance and also tech and software engineering. But what really motivated you to get involved in crypto, especially make the jump? Because certainly something I heard, even 5 years ago, and and I think you still hear is like, oh, the career risk of going from TradFi or from a Web 2, moving from being a Google developer or and saying, oh no, I'm going to get involved in Web 3. There's got to be something that motivates you more than just like, oh, I spent an interesting weekend going through Solidity documentation and I want to change my life. Yeah. So what really motivated you guys?
You want to go or you? Yeah, I mean, for me personally, crypto is kind of an inevitability for me. Having a background in finance, right, and economics, I understand the economic incentives of crypto. And then having a background in technology, it just kind of seemed like it would happen. Now, for me personally, do I wish I found it day one? Yeah, we all do. But I found it long enough ago where it's been a fun journey. And for me, it was Bitcoin, and then to Ethereum, and then the smart contracts and everything else. But I see, I'm inevitably a macro guy. That's the way I look at the world, and okay. I've seen the. Looking at the mega trend of crypto, again, it also seems like an inevitability, right? It's something that I just want to build in the space. And a lot of times I looked at it when I was working in finance, I would say, all right, I'm exposed to this area personally, and I want to build in the space. And a big part about starting a startup and jumping is this is just broad kind of startup advice. There's never a good time to start a startup. And I always reference there's a really good video by Jeff Bezos on his regret minimization framework. I'm not sure if any of you have seen that. If you haven't, Google it, because it's amazing. It's because
his threat minimization?
His regret minimization framework. So if you guys aren't familiar, he was a D. Shaw guy, right? Wall Street trader, made decent amount of money. And he said back during the first internet bubble, right, I want to go to his boss. I want to go build on this thing called the internet. It's I had this idea, XYZ. And his boss said, that's a great idea for someone else, right? You guys, you have a Wall Street career, you have a great background, you have your career set. Why would you go do this? And his regret minimization framework is essentially, he said, I'm gonna look at myself, and I imagine myself as 80 years old. And when I look back on this, would I regret doing this? Would I regret staying in my career? And I'm just trying to minimize that. And when I look at my life, I saw that, I was like, what? Would I regret staying in finance? I know what my career path would be, I know what my life would look like. Would I regret not building something? And would I regret not building something in crypto? And I said, yes. I will look back at 80 years old, whether this succeeds or fails, it's going to succeed. We're going to build this into a multi-billion-dollar company.
And when was this? When was this that you had this regret minimization?
So I think I initially saw this a few years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it was probably 2018 or 2019. And look, Banky and I generally had been talking about starting something for a long time, so it was a slow process, but I knew that I wanted to start something for a long time.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's it just takes a kick in the butt to do it, right? There's never a good time to start something, but you just need to take the first step.
Right.
But,
and Banky, what's your?
Yeah, sure. Don't forget, Justin and I sat on the same trading desk for 10 years, right? And when you sit on the same desk with someone,
you would think 10 years is enough, but
like this. Look like this. How's it now? Yeah, so we sat on the same trading desk for like 10 years. And when you sit on a trading desk, equities trading desk with someone for 10 years, you get to really know that person because you go through all kinds of cycles of tension, right? And another thing to remember, I mean, you'd mentioned like the risk of leaving a job like a Google. I mean, we're actually the worst at really measuring risk, we humans. So what we, perceive as risky is oftentimes not as risky as we think. And what we perceive as not risky is oftentimes so risky. Case in point, I mean, no pun intended, Credit Suisse, right? We were both
Right.
for like total of me 10, he 16 years. A bank of over 167 years old, right? Just essentially just gone, right? Conventional wisdom would say, oh, that's a stable job, right? Just work at Credit Suisse. Going back to, crypto, I'm a builder at heart, right? And my whole life has been innovating, but previously was innovating at an intersection of finance and technology and trading. And it gets to a certain point, you realize that, we're macro guys, and you see where the next frontier of innovation is. And, what I do is disruption. I did that on Wall Street. And I was like, look, the kind of innovation I'm trying to do, I can't do it here, right? And since we're macro guys, we're cycles.
And you couldn't do it there because just internally, the discussions you had when you just informally bounced things off people, they were just like blank stares, or they were too busy, just kind of head down with their basic thing.
For right and wrong reasons. Right in the sense that there's a reason why it's called disruption, right? Which means you're gonna disrupt the status quo, right? And you're gonna do things that are oftentimes experimentation, which in a stable bank, a 100-something-year-old bank, and any Wall Street bank, it's not gonna be likely taken. And there's a lot of regulations also as far as certain things. Just to make a small change in a bank could take months and months and meetings, right? But the kind of speed you need to do, you need to innovate at, right? In the crypto world is like, a day is like months in a bank. So if you're trying to innovate at that speed, so I don't blame banks for being slow to innovate in that respect, because banks, those kind of banks have trillions of dollars under management. You can't just make changes like that. But like in the crypto world or in the blockchain world, when things are moving lightning fast, you have to be able to move fast too, right? So the kind of innovation we're trying to do, we knew we couldn't do it here. And having been at the intersection of cross-asset trading, which was stocks, swaps, ETFs, that we saw that kind of knowledge, that kind of experience we could leverage in the crypto world. Because in our world, right, we were electronic trading, and what that means is if there's a bug in your code, by the time you realize you've lost money, right? And we saw in the crypto world that same experience translates, because you hear of hacks all the time, across different bridges, right? And we're like, look, this is like a wild, wild west. We're from an institutional electronic trading background. We're used to like writing code that could lose money, millions of money if we're not careful. And these guys there's so much room for innovation here. And we're like, look, we're just going to do this. And when it comes to, again, risk and stability of jobs for us is really, we don't think of it that way, because, we could bet on ourselves, because we're both engineers. So we're not going to just outsource stuff to some folks somewhere else. We're going to bet on ourselves and build the technology to solve this problem, which is what we're doing now.
Right. So you guys started Bitwire roughly 2 years ago, or more recently than that?
No, we started last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
Okay. So you start, what have you built so far? What can your customers use it for? And what growth metrics are you using to kind of track your success?
Yeah, so we launched end of last year in kind of like an alpha mode. We've been very careful about listening to our consumers. That's the most important thing, I think. Starting any product is listening, making sure you're building something that people want. And so we've done hackathons.
And who are your core consumers? Are they developers?
Developers, okay. Yeah. So we're trying to move millions of developers into the space, right? Trying to go to the Web2 guys, even a Web3 guy who wants to build something fast. We have people building us who are Web3 guys. They said, they have a guy who's building, he's like, you've saved me months of work by just using your platform. And he can do something in a weekend that would take him months to build by himself. So that's powerful. Anytime I can take you as a developer and give you leverage for your time, give you technology that you can do something faster, hopefully you thank me for that.
Right.
So I'm trying to build the features that, number one, that the consumers want. So right now we can deploy smart contracts. You can come in actually right now, even if you're not a developer, you can sign up on our platform and one click and deploy a smart contract. It could be an NFT contract, it could be a commerce contract, it could be whatever you want to do, which is pretty powerful, right? It's a couple clicks. And you could also use this to obviously mention NFT.
And by a smart contract, give an example.
Yeah, so let's say in ERC 721, the standard NFT that you would think, right? Or 1155. You can come and produce at 1155. And the reason why and by the way, we're also live on 14 different chains, 7 live nets, 7 test nets. So, and there's a reason for that, because we don't necessarily, we were talking about this before we came on, like I love crypto. I think we love a variety of coins, but we don't necessarily want to pick a winner. And I think it's very tough from cycle to cycle to pick and know what that winning technology or coin is going to be, or what the next platform is going to be. So we want to be broad enough that whatever the next macro cycle is, if it's a year from now, 2 years from now, we want to have the platform for that, whether that's the same coin, if it's Ethereum or if it's something else. And we want to support as many different concepts and protocols, and give basically developers the ability to use their imagination to build something. And we say ERC 721s as a contract, or 1155s, NFTs, because there's a lot of cool stuff that can be built with that. But it's not just NFTs, right? We can have a smart contract deployment that could be a DeFi protocol or a staking protocol or anything. Like our bread and butter is the easy deployment of smart contracts. And there's a number of templates we can build. The developer can come in and say, point, click, do it, and then build their empire off of it. As a Plaid, you'd say, like a Chime was built on the Plaid infrastructure. We're the infrastructure and the scaffolding, as Banky always likes to say, for Web3.
Right.
And making them, basically giving them the ability to build that cool concept. Like, let's say, moving real estate transactions on the blockchain, or the IT platform, or doing gaming on the blockchain and had NFTs for that. We can power all of that.
Yeah.
Because it's generally the same contract types underneath. It's super simple.
And how long did it take you to kind of build the first suite of tools that you're offering?
A few months. What was the total time frame? Probably 6 months total. And I'd say generally, competing.
And was it primarily you two guys?
Yeah.
Just okay.
Yeah. I mean, we used a couple consultants for like small stuff here and there, but it's Banky and I building the core infrastructure, and that's key, because like you talk to some of these companies that have like 50, 100 people, and like I think we've outpaced and outpunched all of them in terms of what Banky and I have done. And that's why I love Banky as a co-founder. Like, we have such a complementary skill set, and it's great that we're both builders.
Complementary how?
In that, what I'm good at, he's...
Don't listen, and then I'm going to ask you the same question, and we'll see if it matches up.
We've taken different parts of the platform and building. Like, we can both do everything, but it's nice to like, I can say, okay, Banky, you go build this part, I'll go build this part. And we kind of come together on it. And that's powerful, because it's not like, I'm the business guy and Banky's the engineer, and like Banky's doing everything, or vice versa. Like, anytime you're doing a startup, there's a lot to do. And like, there's a million things for me to do every single day. It's marketing, it's, talking to developers, doing customer support, building, pushing product, coming up with new ideas, doing social media. So, it's nice to have both of us who can do everything. It's, you learn a lot building a startup. It's like, It's a big change from our old job. I'll say that. I don't know if you think the same way, but it's a great change. I love.
And how are you guys funded? Are you bootstrapped thus far? Or?
Yeah, we did a pre-seed round last year with some angel capital.
Okay.
But yeah, we're funded from angels
so
far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a big change, right? Coming from trading. And every single day, like, the day ends. I was actually just talking to my wife about this today when we were walking around. It's like, at the trading day, like, you do a couple trades, your P&L, it's done, and like, I made or lost money. With this, there's like always a million things going on in my mind, but it's fun because I wake up at midnight and I'm like, I should do that, or I should implement that. Like, that's a great idea. I should be doing this. And like, it's an excitement that you have. That like, I was excited about the markets, but there's like a whole nother excitement about building something. And like, we've always been builders. I always loved doing this, but there's something to be said for building something for yourself.
Yeah.
Or like birthing something into the world, a new concept.
Yeah.
But
talk to me about the growth that you had and how you're trying to get people involved. Right. I know that's always a challenge for startups to get the word out. Like fine. So hackathon.
So we launched in an alpha phase, like end of last year, just really because we want to interact with developers, and really focus on our consumers. And feedback has been really amazing. We're very active in the hackathon space. We're on track to do about 60 hackathons this year.
60 hackathons this year.
60 to 80 this year on track. We've done hackathons in Canada, in the US, in India. We have one in Europe coming this coming week, and so we're super active in that. And the reason for that is because while still in alpha phase, we want to get direct feedback. A lot of the product evolution has been really from, taking feedback from our users and essentially refining, and we find that to have worked well. So far feedback has been great, and like Justin mentioned, we did a seed raise last year, and the goal was just to build a product, which we have now. And it's just the two of us, and having worked on Wall Street for like many years, I used to run a team of like 40 people globally in Singapore, London, US, and India. And I realized then, even with a team of 40 people, the core superstars on the team maybe like just 3 or 4 people. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a basketball team, right?
Did Credit Suisse realize this?
It's that's how life is, right? Think of a basketball team. Golden State Warriors is just one Steph Curry. You know, think of like, Milwaukee Bucks is just one Antetokounmpo. So that's how life generally is, right? And so we just figured that, look, if we could really just have 2 of us that could actually build stuff, we could really do like, what like 10, 20 people would do at other firms for a fraction of the cost. And that's really been our story of building a pretty competitive product, right, in the marketplace. Right now, as far as I know, we're one of the only places, or few places, that will let you really deploy an omnichain NFT, right? Really, with just really a click of a button and one endpoint call. And what that means is when you launch like an ERC-721 contract with us, an omnichain one, you can move it from chain to chain. There are not many places to do that, right? And we just rolled out our 1155 contract. We also we have what you call a commerce contract. Really, just means you just want to collect. Do commerce, you just want to accept funds and set a price to get paid in on a smart contract, you use it. Like one of our clients was asking today that, look, it wants a soul-bound token, which is really an NFT that can't be transferred, right? We're like, you know what, I can think about doing something. So we're constantly like creating new contract types, again, based on consumer demand.
So that's something you offer, like soul-bound NFTs? That's something?
We don't. I'm saying a client reached out to us, asked for it today, and we're like, look, we'll look into that. But the point I was trying to make is we're really focused on really building based on consumer demand. Because, and that's one advantage of being technology business people, is it's cool to just build cool technology and just because it's cool. But if you listen to the consumer and you morph your product, evolve your product based on real consumer need, I think those kind of products will be more sticky. And if you have a sticky product, then it becomes really a value proposition, and it's going to be hard for people to just move if it's a sticky proposition. So the point I was trying to make with that example is we're evolving the product based on consumer demand, and we've seen that work so far.
But 60 to 80 hackathons, how do you do that in a year?
Not to take it lightly. I'm thankful that I wasn't automated. My life wasn't automated trading. So that whole world of automation was really kind of like muscle memory. And automation just makes you believe that with 1 or 2 people, you could do the work of like 20 people, right? And think about it, right? So we've got processes in place. We've got a lot of automation. We've got things standardized. Standardization is key. Have like templates for everything. So really, the whole process of onboarding people, doing hackathons, presenting, all that's there's a lot of automation in that. Not dissimilar for what we used to do in the electronic trading space, where you have a model, you have a quant trading model, you have a pattern, and you just keep over and over again. So we've taken a lot of that automation again from the Wall Street world to the crypto world, because there's a lot of need for stuff, and we're just scratching the surface. We've not even scratched the surface yet.
Right. Cool. One of the concerns I've had just watching the space all this time is that there still aren't a lot of use cases where we've gotten a lot of traction with crypto, right? I'm happy to hear the opposite side of it. I'm here to be, educated about all these cool Web3 apps which you've been using and think are great and have gotten traction. But, how much do you agree with that basic assessment that, we don't have a lot of good Web3 use cases? And, if so, how do we change that? Like, why is it taking so long?
Is it? Okay, hold on, goes.
The magic is to hold it. Okay, got it.
Look, as I alluded to earlier, I think our problem as an industry is we're still early. And we say that decades
it's
plus.
Five years ago I was hearing that.
And that's part of the thing. Web 2 has had millions of developers refining GUIs and refining customer acquisition for years and years and years, because there's so much money there. And again, I bring up the MetaMask example, and I've said this before. MetaMask, I wouldn't give to my mom for a reason, because it's still too complicated. And we're getting there, right? Well, there'll be times where, new implementation standards will have 2-factor, authentication and recovery. But, that's an example of, broadly as an industry, we suck as building GUIs, right? And I think it's tough for people to see the magic. But I've also fallen down this rabbit hole many, many years ago where I've seen the magic multiple times. And like even recently, like with NFTs, like there's an NFT project called Azuki. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. And they did a drop with Ambush where they essentially did PBT tokens in their hoodies. So they did a hoodie drop. You could scan the hoodie, and that would mint you an NFT. And that was like one of the most magical moments I've had in a while. I mean, I've been in crypto for a while, but it was like, wow. Because they implemented this concept of rarity. I had a physical item that was tied to digital blockchain. And I could see how that can expand to be, you see so many luxury goods manufacturers or digital collectibles. Like I can see how that can be a huge industry. So to answer your question, I think people just need to see the magic. Like it's not that they don't have use cases, because we were talking about owning your data.
Hoodies with NFTs. That's one of the examples.
That's an example that I have from my own personal point of magic. But I think you were talking earlier about owning your data.
I'm gonna want one from you too. So
I think for me, when looking at at the NFT example, having consumers being able to participate in the success of a brand is magical. Or having a gamer being able to monetize their work in a game via owning an asset is magical. Now,
what do you think about play to earn?
I think it's a natural progression. People are already doing it. People were doing World of Warcraft selling golds in like 2004, right? So that's been around in gaming for a while. The difference is...
So what does blockchain bring to it that takes it to a next level?
Yeah, it's now going to be legitimized. And it's going to mean like I can now sell this in a manner that's probably going to be backed by Activision, and they're going to take a cut, I'm going to take a cut, and we'll both make money. And gamers hate that now, but once they realize they can make money doing it, maybe they'll love it. And
why do you think gamers hate it now?
Well, there's a big pushback on loot boxes, right? Because they felt like they were being milked. But I think the difference between loot boxes and NFTs and in-game assets that you can sell is you own that asset. Right, like right now, my profile picture is my Azuki. I own it, it's mine, it's my identity. And when you configure there's billions of people in the world, each one's gonna be online, each one's gonna need a digital identity. It clicks, you're like, all right, I get it, this is the identity. Whether it's your gamer, so like I'm gonna show off like this is my character, this is a sword I have, I work so hard for, and maybe I can sell it, maybe it's worth something, or maybe it's my profile picture, or maybe it's just my identity as in my car, my like driver's license I have in my wallet right now. That could be an NFT or a digital contract, right? A smart contract. Or if you, as I said before, the concept of real estate transactions, right? If you buy a house, like where I am, you literally have to sign a physical piece of paper and like mail it off to the county clerk's office that like a couple weeks later will stamp it and mail it back. You're like, dude, it's like 2023. Why are we still doing that, right? That's prime for the blockchain.
Right.
So like these things, it makes sense, but it takes a while for people to catch on. And I think generally we as an industry, we're like, oh yeah, it's cool, Ethereum and everything else. Like, my mom will interact with this in 5 years. She won't know it's blockchain. I think it'll get to the point in GUIs and interfaces, and we as industry will make it so seamless that it'll be using it, but they won't know it. It won't be like, I need to write down my seed phrase, and if I lose it, I'm screwed, right? It'll just be like naturally interacting with something, but it will revolutionize the way we own, the way we interact, the way we move through this economy. Becky, I don't know if you add to that.
Yeah. Do you have an aha moment?
No. I think Justin is right. I mean, the use cases really are just really limitless. I'll give you an example. I was in South Africa the other day, and my Starbucks card won't work because even though it's a Starbucks in South Africa, I mean, it just won't work because it's a different platform. If you think of like a blockchain as really a distributed database, right? I mean, why can't you just put it on the blockchain, right? I mean, now it was a few months later I got back and I realized that Starbucks was actually doing some NFT blockchain stuff, probably to solve that same problem, right? I mean, one of our use cases is some user created a Web3 charity, and his rationale for that is, you may ask, why do you need a Web3 charity? What it said was, listen, during COVID, a lot of folks donated close to $1 billion, and a good ton of that was fraud. So he figured he would do all that on the blockchain, so there's going to be full transparency to all donations and everything that happens as far as, funds that come to the charity. It was Web3. That's a simple use case. Another simple use case was a few weeks ago, there was an election in Nigeria, right? The largest black nation on earth, 200 and something million people, right? And it was just rife with fraud, right? Why? Because they had very, very archaic systems of uploading voter cards to the cloud. If this was on the blockchain, that'd been seamless. So there's lots of use cases like that where you could solve problems easily with a distributed database, which really is what a blockchain is.
Yeah. I was talking with some developers, over the past week, and they say that the level of interest at enterprises in AI and with all the chat, generative AI and everything is just off the charts. How do you think, or do you think that's going to have any impact on the amount of mind share that people are going to be able to devote to crypto? Are these complementary developments, or are they potentially competitive, where people are going to say, I'd love to spend a little bit more time on thinking about how to integrate smart contracts into my application to make it better, but our imperative now is to, put a better smart bot in our application.
Well, look,
or just with are you going to really be able to say, I'm a cool kid by working on crypto as opposed to generative AI?
Look, the advice I would give to anyone starting something is, while it's cool to chase what's hot, you have to look at the broader trends. And there have probably been hundreds of AI startups that have launched in the last week alone. And that's fine. That's great. I think ultimately they'll be integrated. But the best time to build is when no one else is building, right? In the bear market cycle, I love building this bear because you always see the best companies come out of these bear markets. The weekends, the people who weren't really into it leave, and then you're left with no competition. And for me personally, us building this, I know that when the next bull cycle happens, we're going to be there. We're going to be that platform that people use. Now, AI itself is awesome. ChatGPT blows my mind using it. I've seen people build full applications just by asking it a couple prompts and building it. And ultimately, I think it's actually complementary, because I think you can do what you're going to do in blockchain and use AI maybe to leverage and build it faster. Right?
Okay.
I've seen coders now do full projects that would have taken them months to do. They did it in 2 hours by asking ChatGPT. There's no reason why you couldn't launch a startup in a couple hours asking ChatGPT, hey, how do I do X, Y, Z? How do I do Y? And piece it all together and build it. So I think it's powerful. It's going to change the way that we code, right? Already now there's Copilot and stuff like that help, but it's moving at such a rapid pace that I actually think it's going to increase the pace of startup innovation off the charts in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it almost, when I was looking at your website, you've got a number of projects listed on there, covering a wide range of consumer potential use cases. And it's almost sort of I don't know how long it took for each one of those projects to be built, but my guess is there's an application out there to build prototypes fast to determine whether you can get any interest, right? Why spend 6 months building a prototype and then trying to get an angel round if you can do it in 2 weeks?
Well, and that's a big reason why.
Whether Web 2 or Web 3.
Yeah, Web 2 or Web 3, right? You always want to test your concept and go fast, see if there's market demand for it. And again, a big reason why we're doing what we're doing is to make it easier for someone to build a project. By the way, most of those projects were hackathon projects. They were built in a weekend.
Yeah.
Using our code. So that's a good example.
Right.
You can come in a weekend, test a project, throw it out there, see if it sticks, using us. Versus if you were hey, I want to do blockchain.
Okay, I have to ask though, has there been follow-up with any of these projects?
Yeah, some guys are still building on it.
Okay.
It's been really fascinating. Actually, I will say
I know that's always a challenge with hackathons.
And the fun thing doing a startup like this, we love our customers. We're super customer focused, and we have such great conversations. And I'd say the people who use us love us. We've had such in-depth conversations, the soulbound token conversation. We go back and forth, hey, what do you think about this? Oh yeah, we could do this. What do you think about Y? And it modifies our thought process. But a lot of people are coming in oh, I didn't think of X, Y, Z. Some of these are college kids, oh, I didn't think about the gas inefficiencies of doing this in my smart contract. Okay, I'll do that and I'll do Y. So it's fun to have that dialogue. And I think that the best companies listen to their customers, whatever their customers are. Our customers are developers. I listen to developers. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. We're still going in that direction. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. But by listening to them, I'm trying to solve problems that they have. So I think as long as we keep listening to them and solving those problems, we'll be successful. And as they have more problems, they want to build more cool stuff. We'll be there for them. Okay. I want to leave a little time for audience questions. So I just have one to wrap up with. Then I'll turn the mic over to Abby. How if people are out here, either developers or potential founders, and they're looking for other potential co-founders, or if they're a founder looking for a developer, or they're a developer who's kind of caught the bug, but they're looking for ways of connecting with somebody who's got a good idea for a Web3 project, how about some ideas that you guys have, that you might have for how people should get more involved in, in the great onboarding process, other than to sign up for an account at Verbwire and start building on their own? I mean, look,
No, I refuse. Banking has to go first.
It's gotta go.
As far as ideas, as far as what to do, I mean, it's pretty interesting you say that because we're creating an ideas page, and the reason for this is just to like really help people. Because the hardest thing with building a project is really coming up with ideas, right? And we're gonna like essentially have a list of ideas of what you could do and problems you could solve, and we think that could be a starting point. So just look out for our ideas page like in the next couple of days, and really just go there. And the whole idea is as we put our ideas there, more developers come and they actually come with their ideas and we actually make that list even longer, and we think that's going to be a way to essentially incubate ideas and help developers. Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I just want to add to that is like the hardest part I think is starting, just taking that first step, right, as a founder. And so the first, like doing Crypto Mondays, this is amazing. Like I meet so many people, interesting people here, and like you network, and that's great. But also, I think a big part about life is just you manufacture serendipity. Like life is what you make it. So you make these connections, you network, you meet interesting people, and you never know. Like I have a beer with you, or I have a coffee with you. Like where will that lead? Like will that be a co-founder? Will that be an idea? Maybe that germinates. Hey, I wasn't thinking about that. Let me think about that. So you want to just put yourself in a position to be successful. And part of that's just like, as I said, like taking the first step. If you're like thinking about building or being a founder, start a company, like nights and weekends, start doing some stuff. Play around, go to meetups, meet people, and ideas compound over time. Like we got to this idea. It wasn't like, aha, that's it. It's like idea, let's idea. We were going down various rabbit holes until we got there. And like nothing sticks first time, right?
Yep.
And so you just need to, as I said, manufacture your own serendipity. Make it happen by just being in the right place, right time, and kind of being around the right people.
Okay. Guys, Abby, take the Q&A. Run it, baby.
Man, am I gonna? What was y'all doing that it was vibrating? Any questions? Yes, of course, Chappie.
Thank you. So, great presentation, by the way. Very awesome, spirited discussion. So, in terms of competition, who do you see being competition? Are they frenemies? Are they enemies? Are they going to be partners?
Great. Thanks for the question. I think we'll be deluded to think we're the only ones in this space. There's a lot of people in this space, right? But the way we solve our problems is pretty unique. A couple of people are trying to do different parts of the whole problem cycle. They're trying to tackle different segments. There's Alchemy. Alchemy really, I mean, they're on the RPC nodes, but they also have like an NFC API kit, which is really a small segment of what they do. There's QuickNode. QuickNode also has certain things they do. There's a company called Venly out of Europe. You know, again, they've solved separate problems, but not the full suite. There's Tatum. It's another company also. There's also a company called Morales. A lot of these companies don't let you really write to the blockchain. They let you just read. So they have this suite of APIs that let you just read data, and they have different kind of like tiers. But we actually let you write to the blockchain across 14 chains, 7 mainnets and 7 testnets. And like I mentioned, of all those companies, as far as I know, we're the only one that lets you, create omni-chain NFT contract, really across all the chains and let you move from chain to chain. So I'm not, I'm smart enough to know I'm not the only one in this space. But as far as the way we tackle our problems, and when you put all the suite of solutions together, we start, having a pretty impactful voice in this space, and it starts to become a very compelling product. So those are, and I think to your question about frenemies, I think the space is big enough to have multiple winners. It's not a winner take all. I don't agree. I mean, we've got like, there's AWS, there's Azure, there's Google Cloud, and these are all big companies, big businesses. So and this is still just early days in the crypto space. So I'm not going to tell you, oh, we want to be the winner. No, I think there's going to be a lot of winners, and there's a lot of problems to solve. It's still such a big space that, lots of problems to solve. Sorry. Just
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you very much for presentation. I have I'm sorry. Cover? Like this? Okay. Like this?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for great presentation. I have a quick question. How much customization can customer bring to design the smart contracts? And do we have also choice to choose which blockchain to use?
Okay, I heard the first part, which is how much customization could a customer bring to the smart. But what's the second part? I'm sorry.
Which blockchain network we can use or platform we can use?
Okay,
we can choose.
So that's the cool thing about how we built our product. I'll be honest with you, we don't take full credit for this. We got this feedback from a lot of developers. We've tried to introduce a lot of customization. I'll give you a simple example, right? Let's take one contract, say like the ARC 721, right? I mean, we have like a simple contract. We're launching an advanced contract. Based on the kind of contract you have, there's different levels of customization. We have the ARC 1155 contract, whereby you could actually customize, how many tokens you could create, how many, NFTs per token you could actually launch. You could have a space splitter. There's lots of customization. And I'm honestly, as we get more people using the product, we're probably going to introduce more. So the short answer to your question is lots and lots of customization, and I'm pretty sure we've not seen the end of it yet. Now, as far as blockchains, we're on 7 main chains and 7 testnets. That's Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism, Phantom, Polygon, right? Avalanche, and BNB. Oh, 7. Yeah, 7 chains and 7 testnets. And we're growing. We're going to add more. Really the EVM chains now, but that's not to say we don't have plans for like a Solana or an Aptos or Sui. We have all those things lined up. It's just 2 people just now, but as we get more capacity, we'll add more chains.
The other thing I'll just add to that quickly is, the segment of smart contracts we have now is small for what we're planning to do. There's no reason why we can't have dozens, if not hundreds, of different contract types to build, and that's where we're going to. As I said, staking contracts, DeFi contracts, everything is in the pipeline, and it's going by customer demand. We're listening to our customers, like, do you want to build X? Like, the soulbound tokens, like, there's demand for that. Okay, we'll build that. So we're listening to what people want, and that's what we're building.
I just want to add, I was just told we have time for just one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah, hi. Do you feel that NFT trading is too centralized with OpenSea and Blur essentially controlling 90% of volume?
Yes. But decentralization, look, Blur came out of nowhere, right? So this is a good example. While it is centralized, it didn't exist a year ago, and it's taken such massive market share. So yes, I think Blur has been positive for the space and negative for the space in a lot of different ways. I think there is room for more competitors. I don't know how they look. Obviously, it's easier to launch in a bull market like last year. Pitching a product like Blur was easier last year than it is this year because volumes are down considerably. But you also want to be building when no one else is building, as I said earlier. So I think there's room for more competitors. I think there's room for even decentralization, but then it has other problems like how do you do it in an efficient gas manner? And if you're going to be fully decentralized, right? There's who's the competitors doing that? It's fully decentralized, but you have to pay for gas, and it's not as efficient, right? Zora is doing it. Thank you. Yes. So yes, it's too centralized, but there's always room for more. That's the fun thing about crypto. We are super early, so if you want to build more, that's great. No. Do you want to say something about that?
I just want to add something super quick to that. Short answer is yes. I think this is my opinion. I think it's too centralized, but I'm not really going to beat Blur up because they're solving the problem. That's why they're having users. But I'm going to take a step further and say, look, I mean, a lot of folks are really just focused on NFTs as profile pictures. I think, sometimes we may be missing the point of NFTs by just thinking about just monkey pictures that cost $100,000. I think, think of things like utilities, right? I mean, I think a lot of folks have not spent time thinking of utility, use cases, problems that could be solved with NFTs. And I think the more we start thinking about that, I think the better it will be for the industry in the long term.
Hi, so I just had one question over here. So you mentioned Bezos and Amazon, and when I think of that, I think of customer obsession and being very data-driven. So I really wanted to get a better idea of when you're building your app for your customers, what is the metric you're trying to optimize for?
What is the what, sorry?
The metric you're trying to optimize for.
The metric that we're always trying to optimize for is, satisfaction and usage, right? I want to see a customer coming in and saying, you have been so critical to my development that I can't imagine not using you, right? Because I don't just want you to come in. I always say, I want to be the gateway drug for developers to come in. And I say that because I want to bring in 1 million+ developers into this space, but I want to make it easy for you to do it. I want you to be, a year from now when I talk to you, I hope you're like that blockchain ninja doing the next DeFi protocol. And I hope I was the way to get you started doing that. I'm perfectly happy with that because we love crypto. As I said, we want to bring millions of people in. I'm fine. But I also, a year from now, I want you to still be using me. I want to still add value to your development. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to solve. The last thing I want to add, but before you cut me off, Verbwire-wise specifically, We love you guys. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for organizing this. Thank you, Abby. Thank you for moderating. Thank you for having us. If you sign up for a Verbwire account, we're giving everyone who signs up tonight, shoot us an email, justin@verbwire.com, bankole@verbwire.com, or support@verbwire.com. Tell us you signed up. I'll give you a free month of our starter package. That's $10 a month. And we're also giving away 5 $100 credits, platform credits can be used for anything on our platform to 5 people who sign up. So if you're a developer, sign up. Even if you're not, sign up, play around.
Yeah. Please give them a round of applause. Crypto! He's stressing us. We got to get off the stage. I'll see you guys next week. Next week we had... Damn. I keep freezing up. I had a long day. Y'all got to excuse me. We having a women's celebration day tomorrow. Next week, Monday. Today's a long day. Y'all got to excuse me. Thanks for coming out. Somebody buy me a drink. I only drink water, though. Give everybody a round of applause. Thank you.
Abby, thank you for having us.
Want me to just shut this down? What up, you good?